Welcome to the Disney Lorcana Azurite Sea Influencer Set Championships Meta Report. In today's video, you're going to hear from a bunch of your favorite Disney Lorcana content creators about the deck that they played at this event and why they played it. We've got a real nice mix of some super meta brews, some spicy off meta brews, and a all-in Hey Hey deck, which is my personal favorite of the bunch. A big thank you to all the creators for being part of this video, and a massive thank you for Ravensburger for having us at the Disney HQ. If you want to sign up for the Azurite Sea Set Championships, they are running between the 18th of January to the 9th of Feb on the weekends, and you can check the link in the description to find your local store and get involved. Thanks again to Ravensburger for having us. I also want to say thank you to Card Market, who sponsor my video, and without further ado, take it away, deck of Hey Hey.
I'm Rosie, I love cozy games and of course Disney Lorcana. I'm no pro, I'm more of a casual player, but I'll always give these championships a go. And I'm a big fan of a certain chicken called Hey Hey. I'm a bit like Hey Hey when playing these legends. I usually eat rocks and run into a wall. So this time I thought, let's bring a Hey Hey deck. It's probably not going to win any games, but at least I'll have a lot of fun playing, and I've always wanted to build one. I found this video from a creator called The Exploder where he built a Hey Hey deck. It's an Amber Amethyst deck with a focus on support, card draw, and bouncing back cards. It's of course got the Amber Hey Hey and the Amethyst Hey Hey. The focus was to use cards like Lantern and Dock to bring the cost down of Hey Hey to make him free to bring out, and then use a bunch of support cards to make him really strong to fight off big characters. There's also some queens in this, which if played on turn 1, could shift turn 2 into queen commanding presence, which is also great for boosting Hey Hey's strength and bringing down my opponent's strength. There are some Merlin Goats and Madam M Snakes in this deck, but I actually didn't have all the cards that he suggested, probably about 60%, so I added in a bunch of things which changed it a bit and made it a little bit more aggro and a bit less support. The main changes I made were I added in 3 Daisy Ducks, added in some Baloo Bodyguard, some Magic Carpets, and also some Queen's Castles. I figured all of these would help me get lore fast. They seem to be pretty popular cards, so they must be doing something right. I always get frustrated when right at the last minute, when I just need to get 1 or 2 more lore to win, I just can't. So I added in a few cards that would maybe help me with that. Good Job and Donald Duck Musketeer, which add lore to characters. Obviously, Merlin Goat is actually the best one for that because you get lore immediately. Definitely realised that when I was playing with this deck. How did it play on the day? Well, my first match was against Lucy, who is formidable, and I was like, oh no, she's really good. She was playing Ruby Amethyst, but I actually managed to win one of those games. Basically, I got to 18 really quickly, and she just couldn't really keep me down. She kept pulling out all these different cards and stopping me from gaining, but eventually I just won, which was awesome. That's all I wanted from that day, was to win one game, and I'd already done it in my first match. In my second match, I was playing my pal Ed, and he was playing Ruby Sapphire, and somehow I won. My Queen's Castles actually really helped because he didn't have too many cards for removing locations. There was this amazing moment where I was on 18 and all I needed was to bring out a goat, and I top decked a goat, which got me a lore, and then of course he couldn't really do anything to stop me. Hey Hey, the chicken won. My final 2 matches, I did lose 2-0. I played Lorcana Villain, who had a Ruby Amethyst, and of course he's amazing. And I also played Playscape Games, had a Amber Steel Song deck. I had a funny inkling my deck wouldn't be very good against Song decks, but I did hold my own, and I still think I played well, so I'm really happy. Lorcana Villain even gave me some tips for how to improve my Hey Hey deck, so I'm going to be working on it and seeing if I can make it any better. In the end, I think my support deck ended up being way more aggro. I came 13th out of 16, which of course you're going to be like, that's not good, but I'm super chuffed because I've come last a couple of times in the past, and so this was amazing for me. And winning 3 games with a Hey Hey deck, I'm so happy.
What's up guys, Falcone here, and I'm going to show you the deck that I decided to bring for the Influencer Set Champs. Yes, I am the scumbag. It's discard. As far as I'm aware, I'm the only person that brought discard to to this event. And that's because I didn't have an awful lot of time to prepare. I didn't have an awful lot of time going into this. And so I decided to bring what worked for me really well during the previous Set Champs for Shimmering Skies. Turns out discard still pretty good. I managed to just slip into top 8. I think I came 8th and did run away with one of the scars, losing only to Blue Steel and losing to Red Purple, losing to my lovely partner Candy Evie, who destroyed me. It was the winning in top 4, losing out. Well, we got matched against each other, and she destroyed me. I'm sure she'll talk you through her deck later. But there's nothing crazy to talk about here, really. Diablo is pretty good, especially when you can run 8 small ones and a big one, or rather, and 4 big ones. Card's just so insane. It's nice to combo with friends on the other side. It's nice to combo with Sudden Chill, and it's nice to combo with Heffalumps and Woozles, which is something that I just wanted to try out today, just to try and slow down the aggro decks. And again, crucially, and this is the same for Bellwether, I want to stop the Hiram Flavisharms from questing on turn 4. When the opponent's played them, they've already drawn 2 cards, but at least if I can slow them down and stop them from questing, it'll stop them from drawing too many more. And it did actually work quite well on a few occasions. My second matchup, I was against Red-Blue, Ruby Sapphire rather, and my opponent just get completely shut down thanks to me discarding her hand and also preventing Hirams from drawing more cards by giving it Reckless every single turn. And that's where Bellwether shines. I'm a Lyle enjoyer. Typically, I would prefer to play Lyle, but I think Bellwether fills a very similar gap. Obviously, it doesn't have the lore deduction, but does have some juicy perks instead, like doing it every turn. Again, I'm a Lucifer enjoyer. I know it's pretty cruel, but when it works, it works. Befuddle's in the deck. I wanted to try it just to try and sort of slow down the aggro and just also give myself the option to bounce back my own Go-Go's or Ursulas. I think it got inked every single game. I don't think I used Befuddle, so I'm not necessarily going to recommend that. And I guess the other thing worth mentioning really is Genie. Genie is insane. I have put Genie in place of Rabbits, and the fact that it quests for 2 does make it just that little bit nuttier. And it's evasive, which is great too. There's a lot of Diablo killers in the meta at the moment. Obviously, Genie is one of them. Go-Go is another. But it turns out Diablo, when you shift it on turn 2, still pretty nuts.
So, I came 9th in the Content Creator Set Championships, which was absolutely heartbreaking. I took along Ruby Amethyst, which, again, if you know me, I'm Baker or Lorcana Villain. If you don't, but yeah, this is very much my pet deck, what I've played predominantly throughout Lorcana's lifespan. And yeah, I'm overall super happy with this build. A shout out to Artabax, who didn't give me this exact build, but it was him that got me onto the 12 1-drops for a start and the high count of Crab. We're just in such a fast meta at the moment that it's quite often ideal to play 1-drop and then double 1-drop on turn 2. The Crabs as well just give you so much better early board control. Obviously we've got Foxes that can do that, but if you miss the Fox, or even if just the Fox trades, it's nice to be able to put down the Crab on 3 and like send in a Diablo, something like that, and just control that early game a lot better. So I was really liking how 12 1-drops plus a high count of Crab was feeling. I was prioritizing Rabbits over Genie anyway, just from my testing into Ruby Sapphire. I think they're just better overall. Still super liked the Genie, but yeah, my preference was always the Rabbit. The list that I originally got from Artabax had cut the Elses as well, which seemed like madness at the time, but after some testing, it seemed a lot better without the Elses. Again, that was predominantly into Ruby Sapphire. For this set championships, I did want to bring the Elses back. I was not expecting a lot of Ruby Sapphire decks to be in the room. I expected that Kim, Kawa's fiance from Podcana, fantastic player and a friend, I expected that she'd be on Ruby Sapphire, and I thought that Alphos and Harlan might both be on Sapphire Steel, but overall, that was all I was really expecting. So I hedged my bets and said, hey, let's just hope that we miss the Sapphire decks in the room, and that's also the only reason that there's only 1 copy of Tremaine here. Otherwise, I would ordinarily always run at least 2. But yeah, super happy with the deck overall. I only played 3 Flynn as well for the reasons I've mentioned already. Quite often you want to go double 1-drop on 2 anyway. Into Ruby Sapphire, you love to have the Flynn, but pretty much any other deck has an answer for it. So Flynn is still good, but I decided to just go with a 3 count. I'm also on 3 Friends. It's still a great card, but we're in such a fast meta that you don't always get the chance to play Friends on the other side. Don't get me wrong, one of the best things you can do in this game is sing Friends with Rabbit and then bounce the Rabbit. That can just be game winning, the amount of card advantage that you get. So this could go up to 4 count easily again for me, but just playing 3 has been super good. But yeah, came 9th. I lost 2-0 to both Alphos and to Kawa. Both those games will be going up on my channel, so I'm not going to ramble on about those matches too much. Yeah, came 9th, heartbreaking, so I've got 2 weeks of set championships yet to come. But yeah, I super like this list. If you're expecting a lot of Sapphire decks, then you definitely want at least 2 Tremaine in here. You may want to go back up to 4 Flynn just for consistency, and 3 Crab is probably fine. And you could probably go down to 2 Genie now at this point, after we've seen how much success Ed had at the North American Championships. And there's an argument to getting libraries in here as well. Overall, I'm still super happy with the list. You probably want one more Tremaine, one more Flynn, but it's still super good. Just had a bit of bad luck, a couple of misplays during the event, but onwards and upwards, and I still highly recommend this deck.
Hey guys, hello, doing a segment on the list. Managed to win it. Very grateful we got invited, and it was awesome to get all the way to the finals in the first run as well. This is the list I ran, card for card, and yeah, but looking at it, it doesn't look like conventional Sapphire Steel. It's very different. There's no ramp, no items, no dime. We're not doing that whole shenanigans. We are pretty much an aggro list at this point, and I struggled to give an identity to the list, calling it a curve list a lot of the time, but it pretty much is an aggro list, and we played it very aggro today. So the idea is just to make sure you play a character every turn at max ink value. So you play a 1-drop on 1, 2-drop on 2, 3-drop on 3, 4-drop on 4. Of course, you can still go a bit deeper with that, and on 4, if you want to double spell and play 2 Mr. Smees, that's fine. You'll notice there isn't much card draw. There's only 3 docks. That can go up to 4 docks if you want as well. But right now, what I'm finding is with conventional Sapphire Steel, with the ramps and everything, it's very, very good still. And it was very nice that Alphos managed to make it to the finals with me, because it was very good sort of validation for me that both versions of Sapphire Steel can work in this environment. But right now, I can say I really prefer this list over sort of the conventional one. It's so much easier to pilot. There's so little less that can go wrong. The only thing that can really get bad is you can have a bad mulligan and end up with a bunch of 5-drops in hand. But let's be honest, every deck can do that. You can have a Ruby Sapphire that misses its 1-drop and 2-drop. But overall, it just performs very well, very, very consistent, especially in events like where I took it to the LCQ and EU Continentals. We got 40th, we got top 64 in the EU Continentals, but the version I was running back then was a bit more, bit simpler, a bit more prototype. So this one's way more rounded, and I really wish I managed to bring this version instead. But yeah, it's so good for events because you just need to make sure you win every round and do as best as you can for your best odds. And we actually, with this list, ended up getting top seed as well as winning the entire event. So we got to do all the going first and choosing, basically because we're top seed, we get to go first every round. And then on top of that, just our chances of breaking are so slim. I think we had 1 brick where we drew too many uninkables, but overall, really like the list. I think it's really applicable for anyone, and I think there's a lot of depth to it as well. I've coached people and got people running the list, and they run it at different skill levels. I've watched people perform fairly decently with it at locals, and then people who can push it just beyond its capability, knowing exactly how to get as much value out of each card. But yeah, there's the list. Over on my channel on Hard and Speedy, I'm going to be doing tons of videos on it. So just, I hope you like it, and check it out if this list interests you.
Hello, I'm Candy Evie, and this is the deck that I use for the Influencer Set Championships. It's a bit of a weird homebrew type deck. I have played Ruby Amethyst since pretty much the start, and it's just a bit of an unconventional twist on your standard deck for these colors. I call it Villain Scheme because it really centers around this card here, the most diabolical scheme. It's a Ruby card from set 2, 3 cost, and I have seen literally no one else play this ever. I found that I was struggling a little bit against the red-blue matchup because, short of a Be Prepared, it can be quite difficult to remove those Tamatoas. They don't even need to be exerted to start gaining lore with dimes. And I lost so many matches this way, so I went hunting through lists of cards to try and find something to help mitigate that, and then I happened upon the most diabolical scheme. So you can choose to banish one of your own villain characters to banish any chosen character you want. And when you look at the sort of cards that are already in a pretty standard Ruby Amethyst deck, it's just naturally full of villains. There's 4 Madam Mim Snakes, 4 Madam Mim Foxes, a couple Medusas, maybe a couple Lady Tremaines. Even more good options, I can add the 3-cost Maleficent, draws you a card, cool. I quite like the 2-cost Ursula card. It has 3 health, so it can survive I Let the Storm Rage On. There's just so many decent options for villains in this color combo. It being a song is also huge because there are realistic scenarios where, say, Maleficent sings the most diabolical scheme, making a trade for Tamatoa or something equally as scary. and then I still have the rest of my ink to play with. Like, that seems just absurd to me. People absolutely never see it coming, and it always feels really good getting to make crazy trades like that. The rest of the cards are, again, pretty standard Ruby Amethyst deck stuff. I do chop and change on the exact amounts quite often. You've got your Mauis, your goats, your rabbits. The 1-drops are great. Standard locations, Queen's Castle is just great, and Library's fantastic with the 1-drops. The new Diablo card is amazing. It does sort of the same sort of thing as Chernobog's and Cusco, but just infinitely better. There might be a couple of Elsas, some Brawls. Anything with Diablo is a particularly bad matchup for me, so I need all the help I can get for it. Maybe some of the medium Sisu, because it's just a pretty solid all-around 3-cost card. It's amazing with the Flynn Rider, but I haven't been running that lately. I do run a couple of the little Sisu usually, because it's just an amazing high ram killer, or even being able to get rid of, say, Cinderella or Daisy can be helpful. It's also evasive, so very often what will end up happening is it just sits there and sings Friends or Diabolical Scheme if I have one of the 2-cost villains already out on the board. I do run the big Sisu as just a one-off. Ooh, another little synergy with a Diabolical Scheme. So the card text specifies that you banish one of your villain characters to banish chosen character. It doesn't have to specifically be one of your opponent's characters, and I have had games before where I've used that song on my own goat because I didn't have a bounce, and that's what's gotten me over the line. But yeah, that's my deck. I'm quite happy with how it did. It got me into the top 4, which I'm quite proud of, and I had a lot of really fun matches with it.
Hi everyone, my name is Earl Meister and I'm a Disney Lorcana content creator. I do this full-time as a coach, a competitive player, and just a goofball. You can follow me on Twitch at Earl Meister. Same thing with Twitter, YouTube, and pretty much every socials out there. You can just Google Earl Meister and you should be able to find me there. Anyways, I like to cook a lot of different decks. I'm an off-meta player, and this is what I brought in for set champs. As you can see here in the back, there's one friends on the other side, but yeah, this deck is basically a mid-range deck. It's right in the very middle. I made some changes to this after the NA championships, but during set champs this was the version that I played. I know Speci doesn't like my Olafs, but Olaf is actually pretty ultra megatonic here. Olaf's role is basically just against Steel, specifically against Steel Song or Diggy Diggy Hole, to make sure that we don't lose on the draw in terms of tempo against these Steel decks in general, because Cindy on turn 1 can be really rough, and Olaf is super sticky and can survive. Now, Sticky Mickey is also really good here on the turn 1 spot, but I prefer Olaf because it's just really good with Bell. I can transfer that damage after a lot of testing. I find out that Olaf most of the time survives till turn 5, and with the 2 damage, he can just transfer those two to something else by using Bell. And again, I love my crabs, so I am on my 4 crabs. Everything else here that you see is basically what everyone else run on their Steel decks and purple decks in general. We have the Magic Broom, Chernobog's Diablo, the 3 Ultra Megatonic 1 cost for this for just the package of Amethyst, and we have the bounce package as well, of course, for Genies, because Genie's amazing. I made some changes here though, but I'm running more crabs now, or more rabbits, and then 4 Elsas, 4 Beasts as well. I found that Beast is a little too slow, but it worked out for the meta before NA champs, so I love it. And Tinkerbell is more of your checkmate card here. Friends on the other side, checkmate cards against mid-range decks in general, and we have Friends on the other side, just one of, because the meta is so fast, you don't really get to sing a lot of this, and most of the time, if the game is slow, that's the only time that you use this. I have a good amount of And Then Along Came Zeus and Strength of the Raging Fire. I only have 2 twos of this, and this should be enough to win your games against mid-range decks in general. And the reason why I don't have a lot of these, because they're not very cash money against
against Ruby decks in general, specifically Ruby Sapphire, and one library, of course, which is amazing against Ruby decks as well. It's just a attack. Other than that, that's basically it with the deck. I went 3-1 with this on set champs. I bubbled out, unfortunately, out of the top 4, but I have the same score as the 3rd place and the 4th place. It played really well, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this.